Hey guys, it's Phoenix Elektra, and today we're talking all things my brand new upcoming EP titled The Blue Shears. So, the inspiration from this track kind of just came from this pair of scissors right here. As you can see, it is a blue pair, striking, gorgeous blue pair of hair shears. I found them one day while stalking at my day job, thought they looked cool, and I said, those would be really good for a photo shoot. Moved on with my stalking, didn't really think anything of it, hadn't really, paid any mind to it again. And then later that day, I thought, no, those would be good for so much more than just a photo shoot. Those would be really good for an album concept. And thus was born the Blue Shears. So this EP is a combination of tracks that I have written over the past several years, some of these tracks dating all the way back to 2022. And kind of within the essence of the color blue, so to say, a lot of these tracks are kind of sad in lyrical nature. But I specifically wrote this album as a piece of catharsis and kind of letting go of a lot of emotions and cutting cords with the past. So, track number 1, Light Me. This track was kind of dedicated to, the burnout in my life that had come from giving other people more attention than myself. And I don't say that to try to sound selfish, but I say it in a way of I cared more about the safety and the comfort and the plushness of other people's lives, and I shelved my needs, my wants, all of the things I needed to keep myself alive and going and happy and whatever else, because this other person situation was more important to me. And this track in particular isn't about any one single person, one single scenario. It's about like multiple situations. And it's about sort of learning to let go and realizing that I had burned myself. I had hurt myself. I had put myself second to anything else in my life as sort of a distraction to kind of keep me away from the fact that this is not a good situation, but it doesn't matter because this person, this situation, XYZ, multiple situations are more important. And through writing this song, I realized that I need to take better care of myself. And this song was my form of catharsis for that. The outro of this track includes a 36, I think, some odd part chorus. I've lost track, but I sat there and just recorded take after take after take after take of my own vocals and calmed them all together, sound designed them in a 3-dimensional space, and yeah, I think it's a track you guys are really gonna love. It's definitely different from anything I've done before, and I think it's pretty f***ing sick. So, track number 2 is titled Regret. This track in particular is quite possibly the most intimate I've been in any of my tracks up to this point, any of my discography. It is the most vulnerable and raw I have been, I feel. And let me be quite clear when I say, it's not about anything I've done in my life necessarily that I regret. However, I regret the reason I was doing these actions, behaviors, whatever, that are listed within the track lyrics themselves. I did a lot of things to search for myself and to find who I was, who I wanted to be, and what would make me happy post-breakup, post-situationship, post-anything. And in the very early years of my adulthood, I met some people and put myself into some situations that I don't regret. I don't regret the things I did or said with those people, but I regret the reason why. I regret those situations existing for the sake of, I don't want to say spite, but for the sake of trying to fill a void, for the sake of trying to make myself feel whole. And this track was kind of circled around all of those situations and the pain and the regret that they brought me because I was just trying to figure myself out again. And doing that in a place of trying to fill the void was not the best decision. Let me just tell you that right now. Track number 3 of 5 is titled Hands of Fate. This track I wrote, I think in 2022. I think this is the oldest track on this EP. Give or take. This track lyrically comes from a place of bittersweetness, heartbreak, but being glad it's over. The lyrics kind of speak for themselves. You don't get me anymore. I've picked myself up off the floor. And I tried to tell you that it's too late, wrapped up in the hands of fate. Sort of a callback to many a situation I had gone through where people had tried to sort of wiggle their way back into my life after I had already effectively cut them out or cut ties, gone no contact, whatever it was. And this track in particular was designed around healing, designed around knowing, hey, I've picked myself up from the floor. I'm not in shambles anymore. I am here. I am whole. I am one piece, and I am comfortable with myself. And you no longer get to have access to that. You don't get to have access to me, the best version of me, the healed version of me, whatever you want to call it. And so that is what this track is centered around, and it's centered around love and light and friends and family and the people, the community, the personal bubble that you build for yourself when you come back to 100 brand new. Track number 4 of 5 is titled Proud of Me. I think I misspoke earlier. I think this track is the eldest on this EP. This track I have probably been holding on to since 2021, maybe? I don't know. The dates get fuzzy when it's that long ago. But I have had this track for a very, very long time. And regardless of the timeline of my healing process, because it's not linear and new situations arise and then knock down and negate all of the work I previously did, and I have to start from scratch. This song was sort of my first healing journey, really. This was sort of the first song that I had sat there and reflected and been like, wow, I've done a lot of work, I've done a lot of healing, and I'm very proud of myself for it. None of this is to sound preachy or sort of, I don't know, not to boast, not to say that, you know, oh, I'm so healed, I'm this and that. I'm really not. I'm just as broken as any other person. But suffice it to say, this whole EP throughout different stages of my life has been about healing. And so this track was me sort of letting my walls down and letting down my self-critique and allowing myself to admit it. Like, hey, I'm proud of me. I'm proud of the work I've done. I'm proud of who I am, how far I have come since situation XYZ. And I'm just very proud of putting myself back together. That's ultimately the hardest, isn't it? Admitting to yourself the groundwork you've done, giving yourself credit is the hardest thing, especially given that we are all our own worst self-critics. Something like this was very difficult to write, and not in terms of lyrics, but in terms of having it fully come to fruition, and again, actually giving myself that credit, actually being able to say, hey, I'm proud of me, looking in the mirror saying, hey, I'm proud of you. That was really fucking hard. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. That was really, really hard. And I did it. And if I can, you can. Look at me. Finally, track 5 of 5 is titled Happy Ending. This song, the original Logic project in my computer, was the last minute or so, minute and 10 seconds, whatever it was. I didn't actually clock to check the exact time, but the last minute or so, the outro that you hear of the song, it will be very clear when you do hear it. You know exactly what section I'm talking about. That is what this track started off as. And as I was building it and layering different bits and pieces and sounds together, I sat there and I thought to myself, I was like, this kind of sounds like that whole like life flashing before your eyes, like all of your memories that you have in this lifetime playing back all at once as you're on your deathbed. It's just filled with love and light and all of the things that make you happy and all of the things that all of us want to have sort of played back for us as we're taking our final breaths. Everything that we love in this super, super finite lifetime. And it was supposed to be designed to sort of be all of those memories playing back. And then I sort of built the rest of the song around that ending theme, especially including the lyrics. And so the lyrics of this track are kind of based around a call out. Not to say, hey you, do better with your life. That's not what this is at all. It's just sort of designed to say, be conscious, be very careful and very selective about who you are spending your time around. It is sort of designed to give you a sense not of urgency, but of importance. People, places, things, memories. Focus on those instead of focusing on the self-consciousness of it all. Don't focus on how you're sitting. Don't focus on what exact facial expression you're making. Don't focus on whether or not you're looking pretty. Just have a good time. This song is one that holds a special place in my heart just because of, again, the outro is just so ethereal and you feel like you're floating, because it's also just really important to make sure you're making the right memories with the right people. So that way, when the time does come, as it does for everybody, you can sit there and be happy and breathe a sigh of relief instead of anxiety or fear or regret. So that is a little bit of insight for you guys into this 5-track EP, once again titled The Blue Shears. This EP will be releasing
Pre-order October 11th. Release on October 25th.
2025. So, as always, mark your calendars, set your alarms, have your Spotify, Apple, iTunes, Pandora, Amazon Music all on hand for The Blue Shears. Get into it. Oh! My ring light. Uh-oh. What happened?